When you hear sea monster, you immediately think of the megalodon, the kraken. In short, the legends that everyone knows, names that scare us, that primal fear of the great void beneath the boat and the creatures that inhabit it. But what if I told you that the most terrifying creatures aren't always the most famous? That some have been forgotten by time, hidden away in the dark chapters of our planet's history or our imagination? What if the craziest myths were just echoes of an even scarier reality? Today, we're not content with legends. We're diving into a forgotten reality to meet the most monstrous creatures the oceans have ever carried. Here are the top 5 sea monsters that history wanted to erase. And, believe me, stay tuned until the end, because number 1 is the only thing that gave the megalodon cold sweats. Number 5. We begin our countdown with a creature from a time when the Earth was just recovering from the worst mass extinction in its history. Welcome to the Triassic period, 240 million years ago. Dinosaurs were just beginning their reign on land, but in the ocean, a semi-aquatic predator was already wreaking havoc. Ladies and gentlemen, here is number 5. The Nothosaurus. At first glance, the Nothosaurus looks like a strange cross between a seal and a crocodile, with a body that could reach 7 meters in length, a long, super flexible neck, and a flat head full of sharp teeth. It was not a giant monster like those we would see later. No, its strength lay in its versatility as a killer. The Nothosaurus was a reptile, but it led a double life, a bit like a prehistoric sea lion on steroids. Its legs, strong enough to walk on land, had long, webbed toes, perfect for swimming. It probably spent its time chilling on rocks, but once in the water, it was the terror of schools of fish. Imagine the scene. A super agile creature swinging its neck like a snake to harpoon its prey with teeth designed not for chewing, but for trapping. What's fascinating about the Nothosaurus is its place in evolution. It is thought to be an ancestor or close cousin of the future giants of the seas, the plesiosaurs. It's a key stage, the moment when life on land said, "Hey, why don't we go back to the ocean and wreak havoc there?" And the proof of its success is that its fossils have been found all over Europe and Asia. A very recent discovery has even confirmed its presence as far away as New Zealand, proving that it had colonized near polar waters at a time when the climate was much warmer. It may not have been the size of a whale, but the Nothosaurus was a pioneer of marine hunting. A ghost of the Triassic period, it reminds us that even the small monsters of prehistory were formidable killing machines. Number 4. We leave paleontology behind and venture into the even murkier waters of mythology. Because sometimes the scariest monsters don't leave fossils behind but scars in people's minds. Our number 4 is not a creature, but a duo from hell, an impossible choice incarnate, Scylla and Charybdis. We know them thanks to Homer's Odyssey. These two horrors guarded a strait so narrow that it was impossible to avoid them both. It is believed that this passage corresponds to the Strait of Messina between Sicily and Italy, an area known for its dangerous currents. But for ancient sailors, the danger was much more concrete. On one side was Charybdis. 3 times a day she sucked in tons and tons of seawater, creating a whirlpool so powerful that nothing could resist it. Then, 3 times a day she spat it all out again. Charybdis was not a predator. She was a living black hole. Pure and simple destruction. On the other side, hidden on a rock, was Scylla. Originally a beautiful nymph, she was transformed by a witch's jealousy into a nightmare on legs. Imagine a woman's torso, but with 6 ferocious dog heads at the end of long necks. Each mouth had 3 rows of sharp teeth. Unlike Charybdis, who threatened to destroy everything, Scylla meant certain death for part of the crew. Passing close to her to avoid the whirlpool, a ship was sure to lose 6 sailors, 1 for each hungry head, torn from the deck with a scream. Odysseus's dilemma was horrible: lose everything with Charybdis, or sacrifice 6 of his men to save the others. He chose Scylla. This is where the expression falling from Charybdis into Scylla comes from, meaning to go from one disaster to another, even worse. This duo represents sailors' ancestral fear of impossible choices, where every decision leads to Dodakko. Number 3, back to legendary creatures, but this one is so enormous that it has become the synonym for sea monster. Our number 3 comes from Scandinavian folklore, a nightmare of tentacles capable of sinking any ship. Here is the kraken. The idea of a giant sea monster comes from 13th century Viking sagas, but the name kraken appeared much later in Scandinavian folklore. Descriptions vary slightly. Sometimes it's an octopus, sometimes a squid, but everyone agrees on one thing: its size was unimaginable. It was said that when it rested on the surface, it could be mistaken for an island. The real danger was when the island woke up. Legend has it that the kraken could wrap its tentacles around a longship, break the hull like a nutshell, and suck the entire crew into the depths. And even when it wasn't attacking, all it had to do was dive to create a whirlpool that sucked you to the bottom. For centuries, it was believed that the kraken was just a sailor's tale. But, as is often the case, there is some truth to it. In the 19th century, scientists described a very real creature, Architeuthis dux, or the giant squid, with a length of 13 to 15 meters, including its tentacles. This deep-sea animal fits the old stories quite well. Imagine medieval sailors in a wooden boat seeing an eye as big as a plate emerge from the water, followed by a bunch of tentacles longer than their ship. It is very likely that encounters with real giant squids gave rise to the legend of the kraken. The kraken is the perfect example of a myth that hides a grain of zoological truth. A legend that seems a little more real every time a giant squid is found washed up on a beach. Number 2, we come to the heavyweight of our ranking. The creature that, for many, should be number 1. The ultimate predator, the name that has become synonymous with prehistoric sharks. Our number 2 is a killing machine the size of a bus, the king of the oceans for 20 million years, the megalodon. Otodus megalodon means big tooth, and it lives up to its name. Its fossilized teeth are over 7 inches long, the size of a hand. They were set in a jaw over 6 feet high, capable of opening wide enough to swallow 2 adults at once. The latest estimates say it could be 20 meters long and weigh up to 60 tons. That's 3 times longer than the largest known white shark, but size was only the beginning. Its real weapon was its bite. The force of its jaw is estimated at 18 tons of pressure. That's 10 times more than a great white. It is quite simply the most lethal bite in the history of the animal kingdom, capable of crushing a whale's ribcage like biting into an apple. Its diet was commensurate with its size: whales, dolphins, seals. Unlike the great white shark, which attacks soft tissue, the megalodon relied on brute force. It would charge at its prey at full speed to break its bones, or tear off its fins to immobilize it before finishing it off. So, how did such a dominant predator disappear? Probably because of climate change, which cooled the oceans and disrupted the food chain. Its prey began to become scarce or migrate to waters that were too cold for it. The megalodon found itself facing new competitors, smaller and more agile, which hunted in groups like the ancestors of killer whales. Around 3.6 million years ago, the king was dethroned. The megalodon is the icon of the prehistoric monster, pure terror. And that's precisely why it's only our number 2. Because the question arises, in the same oceans at the same time, was there something capable of looking it straight in the eye without flinching? The answer is yes. Number 1, here we are, at the top. Number 1. It's not a shark, nor a reptile. It's a monster the size of a whale, with the teeth of a T-Rex and the intelligence of a mammal. The only predator that shared the oceans with the megalodon and could challenge it. Here is the ultimate forgotten sea monster, Leviathan melville. Its name is a double tribute, Leviathan for the Leviathan of the Bible, and Melville for Herman Melville, the author of Moby Dick, and it deserves it. Discovered in Peru in 2008, its skull alone was 3 meters long. The entire beast is estimated to have been between 15 and 17.5 meters long, comparable in size to the megalodon. But the comparison ends there. Today's sperm whale only has teeth on its lower jaw. The Leviathan, on the other hand, had a full set of teeth on both the upper and lower jaws. And what teeth! Up to 36 centimeters long. To put it in perspective, these are the largest teeth ever discovered, longer than those of a T-Rex. The megalodon's teeth were sometimes longer with the root, but they were wide and flat, designed for slicing. The Leviathan's teeth were daggers made for piercing and breaking bones. The Leviathan was a killer sperm whale, a super predator that hunted other whales. The duel between the megalodon and the Leviathan was a clash of prehistoric titans. On one side, the megalodon, brute force, the ultimate bite. On the other, the Leviathan, a mammal with a much larger brain, capable of complex hunting strategies, perhaps even in groups like orcas. And it had a secret weapon, echolocation, a biological sonar to locate its prey from miles away. Everything suggests that they were in direct competition for the same prey. This is a very solid hypothesis among paleontologists. Imagine the battle, the shark attacking from below, the killer whale using its intelligence to dodge and counterattack with a devastating bite. There was no king, but 2 emperors sharing an oceanic empire. The Leviathan disappeared for the same reasons as its rival, climate change and lack of food. But its existence redefines our view of prehistoric oceans. It proves that the megalodon was not alone at the top. There was another monster in the arena, an adversary of equal stature. Leviathan Melville is the true forgotten monster, the titan who dared to challenge the god of sharks. Conclusion and CTA. So, there you have it. We've explored the forgotten depths of marine terror. From the Nothosaurus, the pioneer, to the clash of the titans between the megalodon and the Leviathan via the nightmares of mythology. These creatures remind us that our oceans have been home to life forms that are completely beyond our imagination. So now it's your turn. Which of these monsters terrified you the most? Tell us in the comments. We can't wait to hear from you. If you enjoyed this journey into the abyss, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. Thanks for watching and see you next time.